There's been recently a little bit of concern about the way that I dress in the kitchen, and I didn't think about it too much at the time, but you know what? You're right. And I should apologize. I'm gonna go ahead and change into something a bit more appropriate for what I do here in the kitchen. Give me just a second. There we go. This is something that ought to please everyone. Now, let's get started for today. Because boy oh boy, do I have a story for you. So, a good friend of mine, Sex Diesel, who has appeared on the channel a couple of times before, is a fan of coffee jelly. Originally discovered in an anime called Psyche K, or Psychic, or however you really want to pronounce it. He decided to make his own recipes for coffee jelly, and for the most part they were pretty good. But I'm a very textural type of person, so anything that's too gelatinous or it's too runny kind of triggers my gag reflex, and I can't do it. It's super gross and it's not for me. But recently I discovered a recipe from an old Colonial cooking book or something like that, some sort of recipe book or something, I don't really know, that essentially had, it's a weird name, so I'm gonna really need you guys to follow me here. It's called Coffee and Egg, which, yes, I also read that and was like, that's fucking disgusting. But it's only 3 ingredients and takes about like 30 minutes to cook because you do have to bake it. And it does make a gelatinous coffee thing. So here's how it works. You basically take black coffee, add in the amount of sugar that you would normally add when you're making your cup of coffee, take egg yolks, and it's got to be the yolk specifically, whisk that all together, put it in a mold in the oven at 300 degrees for about 35 minutes, pull them out, and you have an old-timey coffee jelly. And I thought that there was no way on earth that this could possibly work. But when I did it, I made a couple of mistakes, I will admit, but it's an ugly dish, but the flavor and the texture was totally on point in there. So it calls for a sort of mold that shapes things like eggs, but unfortunately, I didn't have that. So I just used a sort of baking cookie sheet sort of thing. It's very similar to like a cupcake mold sort of thing, but a little less deep, which turned out to be a mistake. It was a little too shallow, and I cooked it for a little bit too long because I thought it was a little runny. But if you can actually manage to get the mold just right, you'll actually have a pretty delicious gelatinous coffee treat. So yeah, it's just 3 ingredients: coffee, sugar, and egg yolks. And if you're anything like me and have a very difficult time getting just the yolk away from the egg white, I learned a really neat trick. If you get a cheap plastic bottle, like a disposable one, crush some of the air out, and put the lips of the bottle to the egg yolk and let it go, the bottle will actually suck the yolk away from the egg, and you don't have to do any of that annoying eggshell tossing back and forth bullcrap that I can never get to work. It's super, super easy, and I didn't think it would work at first either, but it worked perfectly and made things way, way easier. Make sure that you do not use Pam to keep your mixture from sticking. You absolutely need to use butter. I used Pam and I made an already ugly sort of dish even worse. Because, I don't know, something about the Pam just doesn't work the same as butter. Butter up your pan when you're pouring in the mixture, and remember it's 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 35 minutes. If you're used to using Celsius, It is, hold on, let me think. Yeah, it's 148 degrees C. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any pictures of the finished product. Sorry about that. But again, it came out pretty ugly looking, but I ate it anyway, and I have to say the flavor, absolutely there. I will say I used a little bit too much sugar and didn't mix it well, so the sugar kind of caramelized on the edges, which didn't help the sticking problem. I kind of had to spoon it all out into a single bowl, but again, that's exactly what I want from like a coffee jelly sort of treat. And because it's the amount of sugar that I personally use in a regular cup of coffee, it tastes fantastic. I imagine that this is the sort of thing that you could eat like early in the morning. I don't know if it's keto friendly or not, but it's probably pretty high in protein because it's just an egg yolk, right? But yeah, very unique and strange recipe idea, and I know that I did see somewhere that there's a Vietnamese version of this. I didn't look into it too deep, so I don't know if their methods are the same or what's different about it. Maybe in another video I'll check it out and see. But this was something that I expected to be absolutely disgusting, and it turned out pretty alright. I could actually see myself doing this and maybe serving it to people who come over. So I recommend you give it a try if you have some sort of dish or mold. I think if I had some cooler molds, it would have at least looked a little bit better because, I mean, coffee is ugly to begin with. I mean, it's brown water. But if you can at least get the shape right and have it not like stick and ruin, you might actually be able to get something pretty neat from it. But yeah, on the coffee front, it's so primitive and so basic that it comes out on the other side as highly complex and super advanced for just 3 ingredients. But that's what I've been up to. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below, and I will see you all later. Be sure to give a like and a subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys later.